Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Right now I'm currently in Paris and I don't have access to the camera, so I'm just gonna be filming on my iPhone, so that's why there's that weird angle and everything. But I thought I would do a video for you guys about how to budget at university because I know that most of it is going to be starting soon. So I thought that I would come up with a few points. I have currently 14 points to go over for you guys. So yeah, hopefully these will be super helpful, and I think that these are more relevant for people going to Loughborough University just because that's how I was able to afford most of what I was doing and paying less. But I don't know, I think that it kind of depends. For this might be useful for other universities, I'm not sure, but definitely for people from Loughborough University, so keep that in mind. My first point is to kind of be mindful of prices whenever you're buying anything. So as much as possible, go for cheaper options. And I mean, like, when you're going in any store, if you're buying butter, don't go for like the super expensive brand of butter. Like, I know that we're all like caring about our health and shit, but like if you really have to cut down on prices, being able to make sure that you're getting the cheapest options is really going to save you in the long run. And kind of knowing those brands that have cheaper options definitely helps you out, save in the course of like months, weeks, stuff like that. Next point is to use online textbooks as much as possible. I had someone ask me recently like, oh, what do I do to buy textbooks and stuff like that, and honestly I didn't buy any textbooks except for one, and that was for like developmental psychology. So like most of your textbooks you can find online or at the library, or even like through the library website. Like sometimes they have access for you to get an online copy of it. Otherwise, literally you can just go online, type it up, and find it sometimes. Or again, the library might have it in person, but just be aware that a lot of other people might be going there as well, and it might not always be available. But like, you don't need to buy textbooks unless you might be using it across the 3 years and stuff like that, because otherwise it's kind of useless. So I really recommend thinking before you buy any textbooks, especially because like they're around £40 each, if not more expensive depending on them, so be aware of that. Also, if you have to buy a textbook, it might be cheaper to get a previous edition. The only difference is that some of the chapters may be at different points or maybe slightly different names, but usually the lecturer takes that into account and will tell you which chapters is equivalent for earlier editions. So keep that in mind. Those also might be a little bit cheaper than getting the latest edition. But I mean, if you're lazy and you kind of just want to go with whatever the teacher says first, then I guess you get the latest edition, but it might cost a little bit more. Next point is to avoid buying at the Spar. So the Spar is basically a shop on campus. Like, there are two of them. Might be more that I don't know of, but I know that there are two of them for sure. And you can get like kind of like groceries and stuff like that, but it's kind of a small, limited shop that is like, it's definitely not the same as a Sainsbury's or Tesco's. And usually the stuff are very expensive there, so I would definitely recommend not to buy there, because I used to do that and I would spend, literally I would go by every week and get and pick up stuff there because I was too lazy to go all the way into town. But like, don't be like me, because I ended up wasting a lot more money than necessary, and like the quality's not amazing, if I'm being completely honest. Like, yes, it's convenient because it's on the walk home and stuff like that, but at the same time, I do not recommend it. You're just wasting so much money that you could be using towards a lot more items in a different shop, for instance. The only good thing about the Spar is that when you buy stuff, you get points, and if you accumulate a certain number of points, you can get basically free stuff. Like, I'm not exactly sure of the equivalent, but I'm gonna say that like maybe 100 points is like £10. I could be wrong, but I know that I definitely was able to get a few free stuff because I was going to the Spar all the time. So you don't need to do that. Even for alcohol, if you can, buy it in like a Tesco. Usually it's slightly cheaper, so keep that in mind. Then in terms of the bigger shops, Sainsbury's is the most expensive, then you have Tesco, which is slightly cheaper, and then Lidl is the cheapest. So if you can, go to Lidl. I know it's a little bit further, but I mean not even that much, so not really personally I find an excuse. Definitely go for the cheapest option. Like, you are really going to be saving a lot more. But I mean, yeah, the only thing of Lidl is that you can't buy anything online. You have to go in store. So that can be slightly problematic and annoying. So what I used to do is I first started out with Sainsbury's. I would go online and buy them, and like just a lot of groceries, and usually you have around like £40, and then you have a very cheap delivery fee. So I would suggest doing something like that, and I think that it works approximately the same on Tesco, and with Tesco it's like even slightly more like cheaper. So I would suggest going on Tesco, filling up your basket with about £40 of groceries, and usually that'll last you like 2 weeks depending on what you're buying. Sometimes 1 week if you eat a lot, I don't know. But I mean, I guess if you get the essentials like pasta, rice, stuff like that, usually that lasts you for a very long time, especially if you get like in very big amounts. So keep that into mind. Also, the fact that you're buying online saves you actually money, because usually when you buy groceries, you tend to take the bus. The bus is £2.10 every single time to go into town, and so like if you kind of accumulate that, it's actually cheaper to buy it online, because usually the fee for like them delivering it to you is like around £1.50, maximum like £2.50, depending on the time of when you want it to be delivered. And frankly, you're paying £4.20 every single time you're going there and back with the bus. So I definitely suggest online shopping more than like going there in person. But I mean, if you're going there and you just happen to be like in town, definitely go buy stuff there. Also, the next tip is to walk as much as possible, because I know walking can be a hassle, it can be annoying. I definitely used to think like this, but then obviously like you get used to it, one, and two, it's not even that bad or that long. So like I definitely recommend walking as much as possible, just because like you're saving so much money. I used to spend so much money on the bus, and next year I'll be living in town, so like I'm really hoping that I'll be more motivated to walk to campus every day. I think on the way back I might be a little bit lazy, especially if I have to go back up by myself, but I have friends that kind of take the same courses as me, and I think that's going to motivate me to actually walk more. But I'm definitely going to be trying to not use the bus as much, because it does take out a lot of your money over the course of the month. So be aware of that. Then the next thing is to get a gym membership that makes sense. And I say this because obviously circumstances are a little bit different this year, but I'm going to go through all the options in case things change and stuff like that. But basically, when you're on campus, usually there are 2 gym memberships offered to you, one for Hollywell and then one for Powerbase. And so definitely go more to Hollywell because it's cheaper. Like I know it's on the other side of campus, but like it's not even that far, for one. And two, again, it's cheaper. Like not that it's cheap, it's expensive, but it's cheaper. I think it was about like £200 for the year, and I'm actually kind of pissed about it because I didn't even get to use it the full year because of the coronavirus. But I mean, other than that, like if you want to get a gym membership on campus, I would suggest Hollywell better than Powerbase, because Powerbase is very convenient if you're an athlete, but usually if you're an athlete you have access to it anyways, because you're part of a team, and usually the team train at the gym on top of like normal training hours. So like you're gonna have access to the gym anyways. In that case, it's kind of useless to kind of buy access to the gym already if you already have access. My recommendation personally is to not get a gym membership at all, because one, it's kind of useless. Like you're literally going to be having lectures online, probably gonna have to social distance. I don't even know if the gym's gonna be open by the time you get in, and if it is, they might have like a certain amount of people allowed to go in at a time and stuff like that. So I would be careful with that, just because you're kind of putting in a lot of money and you might not be able to have free flow of access. So if you can work out in your room, I know a lot of people were able to do it during quarantine, but that's my first recommendation. Then if you live like anywhere off campus or like in town, definitely get a gym membership in town. It's just 100% useless to get a gym membership on campus because it's so expensive. I think in town it was like £70 for the year if you're a student. Like how much cheaper is that? And on top of that, you can kind of go anytime as well. But I think I'm gonna hold off getting any sort of gym membership until I know that I can go freely without having to worry so much about the virus. I know that's not gonna be anytime soon, but until then, I don't really need access to a gym, so that will be also saving you a lot of money. I don't recommend paying by month because usually those tend to be more expensive, so I don't know, just kind of figure out what works best for you. Next thing is make your food at home, or if you're at the canteen, eat at the canteen, because it will save you a lot of money. I know that, you know, the canteen does not have the best type of food, but do with it as much as you can, because I feel like that will save you a lot of time, energy, and money. If you are not, you know, catered, then definitely cook your own food. It's definitely better than eating ready-made stuff or like buying stuff, because I know that, like, you know, there's like the Papa Size and stuff like that, and I know there's a lot of people last year who went to go in and get like a pizza and like a burger after a night out, or like during the day. So I'm just saying, be aware, like that cost adds up. So it's definitely easier to make your own stuff, make an excess amount of stuff if you feel like you're gonna come out from a night out and be hungry. That way you can eat what's in your fridge, and it costs you no extra cost, at least for the service. And it's also better than going into restaurants. I didn't go that much into restaurants last year because I really wasn't aware of what was available. I mean, they have pretty good stuff, but I'm just saying that, like, cook. It saves you a lot of time and energy. Also, within that, like, cooking element, tips is kind of like, vegetables are a lot cheaper than meat. I'm just saying. I was not spending that much on meat just because, one, I can't really be bothered to cook chicken and stuff like that. Like, I just really cannot be bothered. I'd rather just have vegetables. It's so much easier to cook, so much easier to cut, so much easier to, like, make it taste good. Like, you don't really have to add that much, while chicken you have to season it, stuff like that. So if you take all of that into account, and the fact that you can't really spend 1,000 years in the gym when you're out here cooking, vegetables are cheaper and more accessible and faster to cook. So just saying. Next one is that when holidays are soon, avoid buying too many stuff, in particular food, because that's going to be thrown away when you have to go back home, and if you leave it there, it's going to be thrown away anyways because it'll go bad. So be aware of that, especially the international students who can't really bring food home. If you know that you're going to be going on holiday soon, or you're going to go off for a weekend or something like that, avoid buying stuff because it's kind of unnecessary. So that was my next tip, kind of a small tip. Next one that I have is have pre's before you go out, and I cannot stress this enough because pre's saves you so much money. I don't think you guys realize how expensive it can be to go to the Union or go into town, because the Union, I don't know what they put in their drinks personally, but I feel like it's slightly diluted, because I can be spending up to 15, 20 pounds on drinks and still feel completely fine. Drink your drinks before. Make them as hardcore or light as you want. And then afterwards, when you get to the club, you don't have to be spending literally 10s, 20s of pounds, like literally just on drinks, because it's hell expensive. And on top of that, if like, it's easier because you have your own bottle. Your bottle costs you what, like 16 pounds maybe for like a huge bottle of alcohol. Then maybe you have like 2 mixers that are around like maybe 2 pounds. And all of that will make what, for 18 pounds to last you for literally months. Well, okay, a month, kind of depending on how much you drink, depending on whether you share with others, stuff like that. But it's a lot cheaper to do that and then afterwards go out. And I know this is like a pretty common thing that people know about, but I'm just saying, make it your thing, because don't be like me who thinks that, oh, I'll just get ready and I don't have the time to drink anything, or I don't have any alcohol on me. Go to the Spar if you're that desperate to get some alcohol, because it will save you so much money. It makes me cry every single time. And then also another tip is to kind of get the Union package. I forgot what it's called, but there's this sort of package that you can get for I think 120 pounds. And it basically means that the entire year you can go into the Union as many times as possible, and you can have like 6 or 7 guests for free as well. And to me, it was a steal, because every single time I go out in Hong Kong, it costs me about, it's really bad that I say this, but it can cost me around 40 pounds. So I was like, oh, okay, like for 120 pounds, 100%, like I'm doing that. And I think it saved me the stress of like not having to pay 5 pounds every single time I go into the Union, and I can also bring a friend and have them go in for free. So all that to say is that I found it was useful. Then I don't know, I can't really compare with someone who's been to Union as many times and ask them how much they've spent, because I don't think they keep track. But personally, I think it's useful. I would go for that. If you feel like you're not going to go out that much, definitely don't get it, but I knew I was going to be going out, so I was like, that's useful. Next thing is to look out for student discounts, whether that's online or in stores. I think there's a website where you can look for that, but genuinely just type up on the internet student discounts, and I'm pretty sure you'll have like a lot of different services. I know Topshop is always 10% off for students, so as much as possible, ask if there's a student discount in stores. You will save a lot of money. Next one is to get a cheap phone bill. So I've mentioned this in my international students one, but I have a phone bill with Voxy at the minute, which is £10 a month, which to me is super cheap because I know it can go all the way to like £30 a month, and I was like, I'm not paying all that. And it's pretty useful for students because it's free social media, and then everything else, I've never gone up. I think it's only like 6 gigabytes, but genuinely, I've never used all of them because there's like Wi-Fi on campus 24/7, so like you rarely ever use it, but it's useful and it's cheap, so go for it. And you can always add more gigabytes and pay just slightly more, like 13 or 15, and usually it's, again, not that much. Next one is to get a student rail card because for the trains it's so useful. I got it way too late so that was kind of annoying, but it kind of lasts you for a whole year anyway, so even if you get it late you can use it for the following year. And yeah, I don't know, it really does help, especially as an international student, because I have to go to London every single time to get the plane and stuff like that, and from London as well. I don't know, all that to say is that I don't want to be paying 60 or 120 pounds every single time I have to go there and back. Instead I get to pay like 60 for there and back, you know what I mean? Not like 60 one way. So all that to say is that it helps you save money. And I think the last tip that I put in that I don't think I added in here, but is really useful and kind of on the same wavelength, is to take the bus instead of the train to get to places, because the bus is so much cheaper. Genuinely, I think I paid £10 to go to London by bus. Like, how crazy is that? £10, like that's, to me, a marvelous number, because £10 there and back, by the way, because with any other train you'd pay minimum on a good day £45. So I'm just saying, if you're ready, if you're organized, if you look ahead of time and you're like, yep, let me just get the bus maybe like a week prior, you're paying £10. So I do that all the time. It's only 2.5 hours to 3 hours depending on traffic, depending on the time as well. I'm not afraid to ride at 10:30 at night. Loughborough is pretty safe. Be careful in London though. Make sure that you have someone at the station or something. Definitely arrive more. It has good prices early morning, late at night. So I'm just saying, go for those. It's a lot cheaper. It's so much better. I've been doing it literally the whole year and I'm completely satisfied with it. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. If you guys have any other tips, put them down in the comments. If you have any other questions, put them down in the comments. And I will be with you guys next week. Bye-bye!